A sleepy horror story. Far beyond the last dusty road of the village, where the fields melted into endless woods, there was a forest no one spoke of after sunset. The locals called it Whispering Hollow. Not because of how it looked, thick with ancient trees and mist that curled like fingers, but because, if you listened carefully enough on a quiet night, you could hear it whisper your name. It always started the same way. A faint murmur carried by the wind, soft like a memory. Children who wandered too close would sometimes run home crying, insisting they had heard voices calling them deeper into the trees. Old men shook their heads and muttered about the ones who listened too long. Nobody in the village dared to enter the forest after dark. Nobody, except for Elliot. Elliot was a young cartographer, someone who loved forgotten places. He believed in logic, in maps, in things that could be measured. Ghost stories, he said with a smile, were only fairy tales for sleepy towns. So one evening, just as the first stars pricked the navy sky, Elliot packed his lantern, his notebook, and a small silver compass, and he crossed into the Whispering Woods. The air inside was different. Heavy. Each step he took muffled by a thick carpet of moss, the trees towering overhead like ancient sentinels. At first, it was quiet, almost too quiet. But after some time, maybe an hour, maybe less, he heard it. A whisper. Soft. Gentle. Soothing. It wasn't alarming at first, it sounded like a lullaby, barely there, blending into the wind. Elliot. Elliot. He stopped, heart hammering against his ribs. Just the wind, he muttered, clutching the compass tighter. Yet, when he looked down, the needle spun in lazy circles. Lost. Trying not to panic, Elliot kept walking, marking trees with chalk as he went. But every time he looked back, the marks were gone. The forest began to shift, almost breathing around him. Shadows moved just beyond the edge of his light. He started hearing footsteps that weren't his. Soft laughter like children playing in the distance. He called out, "Who's there?" But only the trees answered, sighing lowly. Hours seemed to stretch like years. His lantern flickered. The whispers grew louder. "Come closer, stay forever." Just when Elliot thought he couldn't take another step, he stumbled upon a clearing. At the center, an ancient stone well, half buried in ivy. And from deep within it, a voice, so familiar it froze his blood. It was his mother's voice, soft and trembling, calling for help. Elliot stepped forward. Another whisper, colder this time, "Jump, it's the only way home." His fingers brushed the rim of the well. The wind howled. The trees leaned closer, whispering, whispering. But at the last moment, through the mist, Elliot remembered. The village elder's warning when he first arrived. Never listen. Never answer. Or you'll never find your way back. With every ounce of strength, Elliot turned away from the well. The whispering grew into screams behind him, pulling, pleading, but he didn't look back. He ran. Somehow, he didn't know how, he burst from the tree line just as dawn's first light stretched across the fields. The forest behind him stood still, silent, as if nothing had ever happened. His compass was cracked. His notebook, blank. Elliot never spoke of that night again. And though he continued to map the wildest corners of the world, he never, not once, walked into a forest after dark. Because some places aren't meant to be mapped. Some whispers are meant to stay unanswered.